Amanda, welcome.
Hi, how are you, Jared? Thanks very much for having me on the show.
Oh, it's absolutely my pleasure. All Things Crime could not be complete without the Irish Angel.
I don't know about that, but yeah, it's great to be on. Great to be on.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on, especially, I'm not sure what time is it in Ireland right now?
What time is it? Let me see. Don't even know what time it is. 6:15 in the evening.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, at least we're not getting you past the kids' bedtime. So,
Oh my God, I do be up till 5 every morning because I network in America, so I get little sleep. These bags are real.
oh, right. Well, for those of you that don't know, Amanda Coleman is the founder and CEO of Irish Angel, and it is a fascinating story. She is a nonprofit that supports all things first responders, especially the police agencies and military and firemen. I mean, the whole gamut. So, but I definitely don't want to take anything away from her. So, Amanda, let's have you explain your history and kind of how you got started as the Irish Angel.
Sure, of course. Obviously, I'm from Dublin in Ireland, but I have family in law enforcement in Ireland. And it's very, very different to America. But having said that, the mission is the same. And it doesn't matter where you are in the world. I think as long as you have blue in your family, it will always affect you when you hear things that's going on around the world. So it was 4 years ago, actually, in the run up to the election, the last time, when Black Lives Matter had, all these ambushes of police in the cars and they were being attacked and everything else. And Antifa had started and all that kind of stuff. And it was alien to me, like completely alien to me. And it was only my cousin, who's a guard, said to me, "You need to see what's happening in America." He said, "There's a war on officers." And I'm going, how can there be a war on the police? Like, seriously, especially in America, right? So I took to the internet and I started to do some research, and I was absolutely blown away by everything that was going on over there. And I remember seeing the funeral of a police officer, fallen officer, and seeing all this massive, not just from an agency, but from across the whole country. You had people come from all over the country to honor their fallen brother or sister. And I remember seeing that sea of blue, all the cars coming up along behind, and out of something that was really so tragic, there was something so beautiful. And it was like, it really got to me. And I was like, God, if people could only see the human side to the badge, it would make such a difference. Because I think that's what's wrong. The media portrays them in a certain light when they're not that way at all. They're just like you and I. Well, you obviously have been one, but we're just people. So the more I delved into it, the more upset I got over the whole situation. So I started to post messages of support on LinkedIn. And it was kind of before it was actually just when Blue Lives Matter was actually starting, but I was kind of one of the first, and it just kind of took off. And within 2 weeks, I was inundated with mails from across the country thanking me for what I was doing. And to me, it didn't feel like I was doing anything other than, letting people know, listen, I may be the other side of the pond, but I feel you, and we support you. And that really touched me. And so the more I did it, the more the following grew. And soon enough, it started to get noticed by loads of different agencies across America. And one was a SWAT team in Georgia. And they gave me an honorary call sign, which was Irish Angel. So they sent me the certificate and the jackets, and it was fabulous. But I was really touched by that. So I designed a website that was, because there was so much negativity towards law enforcement online, I wanted to, try and put a dampener on it and just kind of spread the positivity. But I created a website, and it was just literally for them to go and talk. It was a safe haven. So they had username and password. They could log in and talk amongst ourselves and share stories and news and all that kind of stuff. So the more I was doing it, the more I started to hear, of suicides within law enforcement. I knew what happened in the veteran world, but I didn't really understand that it was happening in law enforcement. Because over here, you wouldn't hear about it. And so, because we're very, very, very different. America is all out there. We're not. We're very shielded. Yeah, I wanted to do something. I have family who has PTS, has now developed further into another psychosis. And it's very dear to my heart. So, and addictions is dear to my heart too, because it's in my family. So I wanted to do something that was going to help them, you know. So for years, I kind of floated around just doing what I was doing. And, you know, companies actually reached out to me and saw if I would endorse their products. But I said no. To me, what I had built was a trust thing. You know, here was an outsider who was being welcomed into America, and they, you know, into the law enforcement and first responders and the military, which is in of itself is like a fortress. Like, not everybody gets in, you know. It's very hard for officers in particular to trust. So they trusted me. So I didn't want to lend my name and what I do to products, basically, because, you know, they could go by the wayside tomorrow. Look at what's happening right now. So, you know, so yeah, so I was talking with a friend of mine who's a sheriff in Schenectady, and he was like, Amanda, what do you want to do? I was like, oh, I want to make it into a nonprofit. I said, I want to be able to help these guys. I said, and not just a nonprofit that is going to help them, you know, learn through awareness and all this kind of thing. I said, we need to be boots on the ground. So we decided, we got the team together. We have a great board, and we got the team together and we decided to make this nonprofit. So what we want to do is be able to send someone in law enforcement, first responders and the military whose insurance doesn't cover the costs of their treatment, to get the treatment that they need, if and when they need it, because, you know, within times of crisis, it can flip on a dime. So you want to have that resources there for them. So I went over to America last year. I was there for 4 months, I think, of the year, and did research, went to treatment centers and all that kind of good stuff to find out, you know, what was available, what, you know, good reputable companies was going to come on board that they can reach out to us if someone comes to them looking for help. So it's not necessarily just that, like, a lot of these places run scholarships, and that's great. But the treatment for addiction sometimes leads you into falling into money issues and all that kind of thing. So it's extremely difficult for them to get the travel expenses to go to get this treatment. So that's where we come in as well. So we want to help them and give them the best chance possible to go and get the help they need. So that's kind of where it all came from. Yeah. That's the quick version of it.
Oh, that is so fantastic. I hope you fully understand how appreciative people like me, I have a military background, and so I'm not in law enforcement, but just being a veteran and knowing the number of veterans that suffer from PTSD and suicide, and finding those kind of resources is actually really difficult. And
it's extremely difficult.
To hear of all the great things that you are doing, that's the number one reason I just had to have you on the show. And, you know, despite all the difficulties we've had getting together with, it's been interesting, hasn't it? You know, one time you had your electricity go out.
My electricity got there was a power cut without the whole place.
Right.
Yeah, in all the 6 years we're living here, we've never had a power cut. And that day we got a power cut. We actually got one last week too. I don't know why.
That's fine. It's so fortuitous. So we were meant to talk today for some reason.
Exactly.
And
third time lucky, right?
Yeah, right. Third time's a charm for sure. So, but to get back to my point, I can't tell you how much we appreciate doing the things that you do, because if people like you and others, you know, Fund the First, for example, the fantastic folks that we had on earlier. I can't remember. It's probably about a month ago that I had them on, All Things Crime. And obviously, you know, you work with other charities and other nonprofits, people that are servicing the first responder community. But I think the way you are doing it is so unique, especially the way it's kind of organically come to be. The way, you know, you were just reaching out because you care.
Yeah, exactly. And I the funny thing about Irish Angel is, as much as it helps other people, it actually helped me when I was going through a difficult time. So I I think there is a lot to be learned from, there's a lot to be gained from actually physically helping people. I'm a nurturer by nature anyway, so it comes natural to me. So I got a lot out of doing what I'm doing, and right now I think we're at our most critical, because it's extremely difficult for nonprofits right now, given the circumstances that we're in, with people losing their jobs between COVID, and then the restrictions with COVID. Like, we were to have our launch, we were launching on March 19th, I think, last year. No, yeah, this year. We were to launch in Boston. We opened our chapter in Boston. 2 weeks before I was due to fly, COVID hit. And so we had to cancel that. And that was a massive, massive gig for us. With like 500 guests there. And it was kind of the one that was going to put us on the map, so to speak. So technically, as much as we got our 501c3, then we're kind of going to do a relaunch in March next year, please God. But it's extremely difficult because everything is so uncertain right now, between elections and, like I said, people losing their jobs and COVID and social distancing and all this kind of thing. It's extremely difficult to do what we do. Like, we ran into issues. We decided to, rethink our marketing strategies on how we can, create funds for Irish Angel when all this hit. So we decided to do an online auction. And a lot of the stuff was sports memorabilia, and fantastic stuff. Just before we were due to go on with that, Black Lives Matter had kicked off. And then all of a sudden you have all the sports people, engaging with that. And then police officers not wanting to get involved in anything to do with sports anymore. So again, you had to go back to the drawing board. So it's extremely difficult for particularly for law enforcement and nonprofits right now, I think, because of the current situation. And it's now more than ever that they need us, because I think with all that's happened in this last year, and none of us know what way it's going to go when it comes to the elections, but if defunding the police is one of the things that's going to happen, and reforming them, how they even arrest people and stuff, it puts major strain on a police officer. And so they not only have, what they go through on a daily basis, they're now watching what they're doing, they're watching what they're saying. It's just very extremely hyper. It's crazy. They just don't know. They don't know what end is up at the best of times right now. And a lot of them turn to alcohol or to sleep pills to go to sleep at night, to try and forget what they've seen throughout the day. I think this is the calm before the storm. I think everybody is on tender hooks as to what way it's going to go. And I think it's just going to add more stress to what they have already. And it's right now that they need us. They need people, they need agents or companies like us who can help them, because we don't know the time or the hour, and suicides are climbing every single day. So, we need to be prepared. We need to be ready for them. And it's just making it really difficult for us right now, but we're keeping the faith. We're still plowing on. So it's all good.
Right. It's really amazing. Who would have ever thought that we would be where we are right now? And
God, it's crazy.
It's amazing that all of these agencies are so lacking in support, really, especially from the politicians, the mayors and the city councils and people like that, that you would think they would be the most supportive, because
absolutely, yeah.
A government cannot function without security. And
100%.
Just because they have personal security doesn't mean that their constituents and their agency and their areas that they are supposedly governing, they don't have security. And if they don't, and if nobody feels safe, then that's the first thing. In the military, the number one thing when we would come into an area, the number one thing you do before you do anything else is establish security. And from there, then you go into cleaning the weapons and all the administrative type stuff, including eating and everything else. But nothing takes precedence over security. And it's the same way in a community. And, most of us, especially because of COVID, we're kind of trapped in our own home. As you can see, I'm obviously not in an office setting, but it's one of those where because we're all kind of shoved into our own homes and we're isolated, then we become even more distanced from our neighbors and others that we should be reaching out to and connecting with. And
Exactly.
it's a really bizarre time, which means that organizations like Irish Angel is even more important. And just applaud what you do.
When you think of it, thank you. When you think of it logically, like, I can only speak from myself, but I'm so used to having an empty home. Everybody's working, school, all that kind of stuff. And now everybody's here where I work from home. So to say it was difficult, and still is at the best of times, to say it was difficult was an understatement, because you no longer now have to just do your focus on your work. You've got the home, you've got the kids, you've got the dogs, you've got everything. You're just constant. And it does beat you down. Like, we've been on lockdown for the last 6 weeks. We literally had it lifted last week. It's just been horrible. It's been absolutely horrible. And it does. And I think the second lockdown was nearly worse than the first one. Like, my daughter, she's an amazing, positive, uplifting human being. I love her to death. And she feels it now, you know, and to see her upset, like, she can't live her life. She's 26 and she can't go out and do what 26-year-olds do on weekends. And, you know, she works hard, and, you know, and it's very difficult. So if it's like that for us as just civilians, what's it like for the guys on the streets who has all that negativity and all that bad karma just hanging over their heads all the time? It's extremely difficult. I can't even imagine what they're going through right now. It's like they're pulled in every direction, and it's the not known and the uncertainty that makes everything even worse. And that's why it's so important to do what we're doing, because, you know, they need us. We need them. They need us, you know. And I just find it extremely gut-wrenching when I see politicians not supporting them. You know, if anything, it's like you said, security it's the most, it's like, oh my God, when I think of it, right? Sorry, I'm rambling on. But when I think of it, when I go to New York, because our office is in New York. So when I go to the city, there's cops everywhere, right? You feel safe as houses. And it's a buzzing, it's vibrant, it's an amazing city. And now when I see it and I see what's happening with everybody, I find it extremely difficult to say I would like to go back there and be a visitor there. And they have the mayor to thank for that, and they have the governor to thank for that. You know, they're running that city into the ground, and what they're doing to their officers is just, I can't fathom it at all. It's just, even I was looking at how they're reforming, you know, the tactical end of things when they're arresting people. I had the video that was sent to me of what way they're going to do it now, and they can't tackle anybody from here up, right, from the front or back. And I'm going, that leaves them wide open, like absolutely wide open to have their guns got, for them to be shot at, or them to use deadly force on that individual. It just heightens everything. So how is that making it better? Because you have that hanging over you, that you know, you have to make that decision anyway. But I think it makes it even more difficult now, because they're afraid to make that decision, that judgment call, you know. The hesitation and the not knowing what's going to happen with their career, you know. And as again in Boston, they have the immunity issue now, where they want officers to pay their own insurance, and it's on them, you know. I just think it's such a difficult time for law enforcement right now. We all know that it affects everybody else, like firefighters, for EMS and veterans. But right now, the focus, the spotlight is on law enforcement because of the difficulties that's going on right now, and it's just heartbreaking. I like, when I think of when I started it to now, I just can't fathom what's going on right now. I can't.
Yeah, it's a bizarre time for sure, and even the thought of a police officer being out there, you think of they're under a tremendous amount of stress anyway, but then with that thought in the back of their head, constantly thinking, if I screw up, I'm going to go to prison for the rest of my life. And so
exactly.
the natural inclination, and this has to be across the board, because I know, just as a civilian now, I know I would go through this exact same thought pattern that, well, I'm not going to risk it. Of course,
Yeah.
I'm going to do my job. I'm going to do what's required, but I'm not going to put myself out there, because if I do and I screw up, my kids are basically going to get raised by somebody else, because I'm going to be in prison. And to me, that is just no way to treat any kind of an officer. I mean, if you turn the tables, especially on the politicians, and say, okay, well, mayor or city council person, this is your budget. And if you go beyond that budget, you have now exceeded your authority, and you are going to be personally held responsible for that. So if you're over budget by $1 million, you have to personally pay that.
Yeah.
So imagine how much differently they would act if they were held to that same standard. And yet
it wouldn't happen. Yeah, they, you know, I and like, obviously with reform in the police and the budget cuts, it means they can't hire extra officers, and the amount of officers that has now retired because of the current situations, took early retirement, and you don't blame them. I could never blame them. I just, you know, how do you replace them? And then the people coming up that who you do actually replace with are being taught the new way, which is the new way is not being proactive when it comes to everyday policing. And we have the same, see, I get this so well, because Ireland is extremely different to America. We don't carry weapons here. Well, we do, but it's all like special forces and stuff like that does it here. But our beat cops, they don't even have taser guns. They have an asp and they have a can of pepper spray. They have a stab-proof vest, and it's on them. Like, they have to get out there and do what they do. But I see it here, like for the last 2.5 years, we've had drug families doing tit-for-tat killings every day. And now it's just seeping out into the communities as well. So you don't just have the drug families doing it anymore. You have people, just kids, you know, going and getting guns now. And we're not equipped for that. And we don't have the training for that yet. We have some, don't get me wrong, we're doing the best that we can. But when I see what they want to do in America, that really bothers me, you know, it really does. And again, it goes back to Ireland. As much as we're different, we're very similar in ways, because Ireland was very like America. We are a very patriotic country. We fought the Brits to get them out of our country, and, you know, we fought for our independence, and we were very proud of that. And now we've signed into the EU a couple of years ago, and I didn't agree with it, and I still don't agree with it. I think we should be an independent country. But we've lost our way as a country, as far as I'm concerned. I can only speak for how I feel about it. But we have lost that, our patriotism, you know, our way of life, all the things we held dear, like our kids, all traditions and everything now, kids don't even know them anymore, you know? So it's very sad. And when I see that happen, that's what they want to happen in America. I'm like, don't sell your soul to the devil, like, as far as I'm concerned, you know? And it goes the same with police, and they want to universally make, it's nearly like we were like a test drive for America. It's like, you know, they want to reform the police to make it that way, when criminals don't care about reform. They don't care about anything. They're still going to go out and do the exact same crime they were going to do if it wasn't reformed. You know what I mean? So, and that makes it even worse on the cops, because they're reformed, they're held back, their hands is tied, they can't do the work that they were supposed to do. And that has to have some mental impact on you. I don't care who you are, that has to affect you in some way, shape or form. And that's not a good thing. It's not a positive thing, you know. Criminals are not going, just because police have to tie their hands behind their back doesn't mean to say that criminals are going to, you know. It makes the police lives far more difficult to just do their everyday job. And it's the same for firefighters. I'm seeing, you know, off-duty firefighters being shot. I'm like, what in the world is going on? You know, it's just a constant, it's nearly like a war, a civil war that's going on. And it's, and I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. But I'm praying for a miracle for you. I'm watching this like a hawk, and I'm praying for you. It's like definitely, because
Yeah. Well,
I've become so involved in it. It's part of me now, you know.
Oh, absolutely. And it's already getting worse. You know, I was reading in Minneapolis where they have almost completely defunded the police agency up there, that carjackings are up over 500%. And so, you know, people are already being hurt. And I think you really hit it earlier when you said that you are naturally a nurturer. And of course that comes from being a mother, but it's also I think that completely enhances your ability to reach out to others that are hurting, that are in need. And I especially think police, the reason they become police is because they are naturally, they want to help secure things. They want to help people in need.
Yeah.
And for them to have their hands tied and not be able to actually do what they need to be doing, it's like, I can't fathom being able to, having to sit there in a patrol car and watch a petty crime happen and right in front of them. But because there's a law from the DA or somebody that's basically said,
that you know, they can't do anything.
Yeah, you know, they're not going to prosecute any of those, so don't bother. Not being able to police that and go out and do anything about it, knowing that those drugs or whatever are going to end up in the hands of some kid that might OD on it. That's additional stress that our law enforcement officers are feeling. And
I agree.
So the pressure that's on them right now is just absolutely intense.
It is. It definitely is. And I find as well, again, going back to here, like for the last couple of years, I think 2 years ago now, we have a commissioner. We got a new commissioner. And our commissioner, we've never hired anybody from outside of our own jurisdiction, like from Ireland. So we hired someone from Northern Ireland. They were head of the PNSI up in Northern Ireland. And he's come down and he's made some changes. And he's made changes for the better, but not enough as far as I'm concerned. When I think of it, what you just said there, like going back to maybe 3 years ago, our police here were getting to the stage that they knew they were watching the crimes happen in front of them and they weren't willing to do the arrest. And I've heard this from my family members, and it's not from them. It's like they're listening, and they're older. So they're listening to the younger kids and they're going, what the hell, like, you know? And the reason why they weren't arresting these people was because we have a rule here that when you are arrested, you're held in the cells, and then your statement is taken, and then off pot you go, and eventually you get a court date. But you could have 100 charges on your sheet and you'll be let go. That's just the way we are here. If it's not a serious charge, as in i.e. murder or rape or one of them, you know, you don't get locked up. That's just the way it is. So, and we're very old school, so we don't even do our reports like on computers. They handwrite their statements still to this day. And so it's like start, stop. And it goes on for hours. For them, they're like, it's not worth the paperwork. They could get off with a technicality. So like, where is the, you know, want to get out there and do this, that they're doing it for the right reason, but the right reason isn't working by the government. You know, like we don't have the prisons to house people, and we don't have the funds to house people here. So they know they can get away with it. And it's the same with what's going to happen in America. And America to us is 20 years ahead of us, as far as I'm concerned, with policing. And yet they want to take it back, strip away what they're doing. And what they're doing is working. But they want to strip it back and make it so much more difficult for them. It disheartens them. It make them not want to do the job, you know. It'll just make people retire, leave, and no one will want to sign up. I mean, who would want to sign up for that? You know, your heart would be in the right place that you want to go and you want to do this profession, because it's not a job that you take on lightly. It's something that's in you. You have to have that want, that desire to help and to be proactive in your communities and your country. I think when it's like that, I mean, who the hell would want to, if they're not getting support from their government, from their country, from their people and communities, why would you want to sign up for that? You know, to leave yourself wide open to not knowing if you were going to come home on a daily basis to your family. I mean, it takes a certain type of person to sign up right now. You know, it really does. It's a disaster. It is. And
Yeah.
I know it sounds so negative, but that's the truth of what's going on right now. And the public, I find, are not very clued in when it comes to that type of thing. They only see the surface stuff when you're out in the streets. And they're always quick to judge. If they do an arrest straight away, people is out with their phones and they're recording, and you believe what you see. It's not that way at all. And I just think everybody is very quick to judge them when they should judge them as human beings first and foremost, because that's who they are. And they feel just like everybody. So it's a tough time. It's a tough time. And I'm praying to God things turn around for them. I really am, because they deserve it. I think anybody who puts themselves forward like that, whether it be in the military, whether it be in any first responder capacity, I think, kudos to them. They're amazing people as far as I'm concerned.
100% agree with you, Amanda. You are absolutely spot on that. So as we need to end this, I've kept you for a long time already. And again,
knock the teeth out of us all.
Absolutely appreciate your time. So before we end though, what can people do to help support Irish Angel, to help support their law enforcement agencies? What would you recommend people do to stand up? A lot of people can't physically stand up, but I know emotionally and hopefully some financially can reach out. And how do they get a hold of you? What would you recommend people do?
Well, if you want to help financially, be a sponsor, or just to even to become a volunteer, or anything you want to do to help us, you're more than welcome. Just head on to irishangel.org. All our information is on there. Just reach out to us. We have a donate button. You can donate on there. We also run in a program called the Dusk Till Dawn Challenge. That's an ongoing thing because of COVID. Everybody can do it on their own time and in a safe way. And it only costs $5. But all those $5 add up. If everyone was to do it, we'd be away in a hack. We also have a store on there as well. So you can head over to the store. The proceeds of that as well go to Irish Angel, so to help us do the mission that we want to do. But the one thing I will say is, if you're just an individual on the street, don't be shy about going to a police officer and thanking them for their service, because I know it might feel like a really weird thing to do, but it's a really good thing to do, because you don't know whose spirits you're actually lifting. That officer could be in a bad place that day and feel like what he's doing is gone by the wayside, and because that's the way a lot of them do think. What are we doing this for? But it's good citizens who go up and say thank you for your service, that make them, shows them, there's good people out there and they care for them, and they are loved, they're valued and loved, and we just need to show them more. If you want to come over, as I said, if you want to become a sponsor or you want to donate, please come over to irishangel.org, or even email me if you want to at amanda.irishangel@gmail.com if you want to be a volunteer and help us out. Everything is welcome, at this stage. We're trying to do our best and help those who need it the most. Protect our protectors as far as we're concerned. So we appreciate all your support as well. And I'm very grateful for you having us on as well.
It is absolutely my pleasure. And protect the protectors. I love that. So, well, thank you, Amanda. I will include your website on our YouTube channel. And so people can go directly from this video to your site, and hopefully they will all step up and donate, because it is such a good cause and such a great organization. And I applaud you for everything that you've done. You didn't have to do, the Irish Angel, but just the fact that you would step up and do something. That's how great movements start. And obviously this is a wonderful movement that I fully support. So
thank you. And like I said, just one other thing, it doesn't have to be, we're not asking for a whole lot of money. Even if it was only $1, it's $1. If everyone donated, say, a vast majority donated $1, that makes such a difference. And you don't know who you're going to be helping. I can't even tell you how, we'd be so grateful just to get it. As the way I look at it is, if you save just one person, you've done something really good, and you could be a part of that too. So you can be the change.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Amanda. And if you have any recent or new developments, I would love to have you on again. You're just such a wonderful person. So
thank you so much for having me.
Let's definitely stay in touch and continue to help promote everything that you're doing there. So
yeah, definitely, for sure.
Okay.
Don't get rid of me now.
Oh no. I'll let you know when I get you posted on the channel. And yeah, I'm so excited to finally be able to talk to you. And this has been just a wonderful experience. So thank you so much.
Thanks a million for everything. I do appreciate it. Definitely.
My pleasure. Okay.
And I wish you all the best with your podcast. It's amazing. You're doing great.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and it's such a interesting experience. I've been able to interview crime scene investigators and forensics analysts, and now folks like you, but fund the first homicide detectives. So I'm trying to get the whole gambit in so that people understand the entire process more. I think thus far, really the only major area that I'm missing are like prosecuting and attorney types. So
I know plenty of them. I'll make the connections.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. So and anybody you think would be an interesting guest, definitely let me know. And I'd love to have them on.
For sure. Definitely. We'll stay in touch. I'll put you in the loop with plenty. There's a lot of good people out there. A lot of them.
Oh yeah. There's millions of people out there that not only support the police, but support the process and really want to keep, at least here in America, keep things the way they are. But I'm sure in Ireland as well. It's like
it's funny. We want to get like you, and you want to get like us.
Yeah. Well, I think it depends on who you talk to. So.
Well, this is true. It's the same here.
Yeah. Personally, I'm a freedom-loving guy. To me, it's all about personal responsibility and being able to make my own choices. The last thing I want is somebody in Washington, D.C. dictating how I'm going to live. I think there's millions and millions of Americans that the more pressure that comes from a centralized spot like Washington, D.C., the more they're going to push back. And if they push us too far, it's just like what happened in World War II, when we just recognized the Pearl Harbor attack in December 7th. And I'll tell you what, waking the sleeping giant is something that happens periodically here in America. And it happened in 9/11. And I don't think it's going to be anything as dramatic as that, but there will be a day if it gets pushed too far and too many freedoms are pulled away from us, there will come a day when the giant will awaken again, and it'll be ugly, but there will be a massive reset that I don't think most politicians in Washington, D.C. are going to want to see.
No, I think they're ignorant to that fact that can happen. I think they think that's been and gone in history and that can never happen again. But I see it. I'm on oh my God, what's it called? TikTok. And TikTok is actually an amazing platform, believe it or not, for law enforcement, because it breaks down the barriers between the communities. The same with veterans and the same with all the first responders. But the one thing I've noticed, particularly in the run up to the election, is the patriotism. The amount of people on there who are fighting for the freedoms of their countries, and they're willing to take up arms for their country. These people are like, this is our freedom. This is what we're founded on, and nobody can take that away from us. And I think those up on the Hill do forget that. There is real people who are really ticked off of what's going on right now. And they need to be very, very careful. You don't tread on these patriots. You just don't. They're serious. And I can't blame them, because it's like I said, with here, we lost our freedoms. As far as I'm concerned, we've lost everything. We answer to the government. The government tells us what to do, and we stay in line with that. And I never really used to bother me as much till COVID hit. And now we are led and said by the government. And I just find it extremely difficult. And I see an uprising here, we've actually had people out with American flags out marching on the streets now, because They don't want to take vaccines. They don't want to wear masks. They don't want to be told what to do, you know, and people, a lot, for the best part of this country, they all think they're lunatics. But I don't think they're lunatics. I think they're fighting for the Ireland of old. They want that back. They want us to be independent again. So I know what that's like. And I fear that they try to do that. And it's so corrupt in every way, shape and form, through social media, through, you know, the TV stations, everything. It's just, I don't even know, they fuel the fire. And they're the ones that they know the ball is in their court constantly. The corruption is just unbelievable. And they don't care about the little person on the ground. The little person is a big person, and they need to be very, very careful, because there is an uprising. I can see it. And in the next coming days, I think it's going to be very, very interesting to see what way the country reacts and how it moves forward. I think either way, there's going to be unrest for sure. I genuinely do, but I'm hoping the goodness will prevail. The one thing about patriots is they don't riot, they don't loot, they don't, you know, they're not violent until they're threat on, of course, but they're respectful people. They respect their country, they respect everything around their surroundings and everything. And even when you see them on marches, they clean up after themselves. You know, it's a wonderful thing to see. They're good human beings. Where on the other side, they don't care the carnage that they cause. You know, it's a free for all. And that's the difference between the two. So I'm praying for you. I'm genuinely praying for you. And I'm watching everything really closely. Honest to God, I might as well be an American, because I'd be like a lunatic here when I'm watching the news. And oh Lord.
Well, clearly you're paying attention a lot more than a lot of Americans are. So it is an absolute pleasure to speak to you in person, and I'm a huge fan of everything you're doing. So thank you again for coming on. And I definitely want to have you come on again, you know, especially if you develop any new programs or any other new way to support our law enforcement, then I am all over it. So
I love it.
Okay, you have a great evening.
You too. You too. You take care, all right?
Okay. Appreciate
See you
it.
later.
All right.
Take care. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.